8894.
Hello and welcome. Today we're in my friend's 2013 991.1 Carrera S. It's finished. The interior is finished in beautiful red stitching over red leather all the way to the dashboard, and it's gone on the outside. It's painted in black. I think this is a basic black paint color. It's currently covered in bugs and just driving all the way up here. Powered by a 3.8 liter flat 6, naturally aspirated. It sounds amazing. It does have a spoiler. I do not like how it looks with the spoiler up, so we're just gonna keep it down for now. Unfortunately, you can no longer see the engine starting from the 991 generation. You have a frunk. Pull this button here, you can release the frunk. Here, very big frunk. Pretty big for 2 carry-on suitcases. Alright, let's go for a drive. Now a little bit about this 911. This is my friend's daily driver. He's been using this car ever since he got it in 2015. He bought it used in 2015 with 18,000 miles on the clock. Now on the odometer it says 37,463 miles. Right away, that engine, the 3.8 liter Porsche flat 6, and you just listen to it. Now you may have just noticed I've been using the gear selector to shift gears. You do have these, not really paddles. The way it works is, if I were to downshift, I could pull either one of the paddles back, downshift, and to upshift, you push it forward on both sides, and they're both facing the same direction. That's alright. This car is optioned with the Sport Chrono package, as well as PDCC, Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control. The steering wheel, this is the first generation of Porsche E-Pass steering system. The electronic assisted steering, power steering. Well, the feedback is, I'll say, compared to my Type R, it definitely provides less confidence. I don't really know what it is, but for whatever reason, I feel more confident pushing my Type R up here. You know what is definitely better than Type R? That noise. Brakes are strong as well. Never underestimate Porsche brakes. Okay, back to some continued driving thoughts. Engine really pushes strong. 385 German horses in there, propelling this thing forward. Plenty of mid-range torque as well. Alright, let's calm down a bit so you guys can hear what I'm saying. Also, my apologies for the audio. I really should get a mic. So, driving thoughts. I've never driven a 997, and I really want to, and then compare it to this. Everybody praised the 997 for being the last purest 911, the last small hydraulic steering, true rear engine feeling 911. Although not the most obvious, and granted I don't have any car to compare it, I don't have any other 911 aside from mine, my 1985 911 that I could compare it to. This, obviously, oh my god, closest on the road. This obviously is much faster than my 85 911. By the way, if you guys don't know, my 85 911 is right now in the shop getting a Porsche OEM short shifter kit, and I'm very excited to try that out. Oh yeah. The mid-range torque. When you ask for it, it just delivers. The steering is precise. You can still feel a bit of the rear engineness in the lightness of the steering. It's not the heaviest thing in the world. It's, well, for one thing, it's lighter than my Type R. Even though I have never loved how the convertible 911s look, I always think the rear, especially with the roof down, the rear of the car just looks a bit too high up, a bit too rounded for me. In weathers like this, with temperatures like this right now at 6:30 p.m, I couldn't ask for anything more. Now, something interesting is, how would this thing compare to the LC500 up here in the Cayennes? And I'd say, well, it's more tense. The LC500 does not suggest you to drive it aggressively in any way, but this thing does have some aggression suggestions. The steering is more direct, much more feedback than LC, even though I still think the Type R has more feedback than this car. It's much smaller, much lighter, although it does weigh 400 pounds more than Type R. The engine is much more responsive. Everything is just more precise compared to the LC500. But the LC500 relaxes you more up here. It's more dust. LC500 would still be my choice if I just had a very intense day at work. I just want to relax and chill, I'll still take the LC500. Versus if I'm up here, say I want to enjoy myself, just go out, full out, have some fun. This slots nicely between the Type R and the LC500. You'll notice it does have Porsche dynamic chassis control, but I've left the chassis in normal mode just because the Cayenne rails up here is quite bumpy. Fits the normal suspension setting better. Now let's see how the PDK handles itself in sport mode. So I'm leaving the transmission just in sport mode behind the Corolla though. Oh yeah. Ooh, that upshift is so cool. right there on that corner. Maybe I went in a bit too fast, but you could feel a little bit understeer. However, it's worth noting, I felt the understeer through the chassis, not exactly through the steering. Oh yeah. Definitely nowhere near as obvious as in my 85 911, but you can still feel it being rear engine. The lightless in the front still takes you lifting. You can still feel the engine trying to rotate around you when you go off sort of mid corner. Back into manual mode now, shifting with these rather awkward paddles. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this thing is definitely a blast in the tires. But let's now find out how it does, as how my friend has been using it as a daily car getting you from work to home. Alright, now that we're about to get on the freeway, let's talk about some freeway driving dynamics. Now the car is completely in its normal setting. I have one level of cooled seats on. Oh yeah, even in normal mode, PDK is fast and responsive. This is a 7-speed PDK, and at highway speeds, you're cruising at about 2000 RPM. There's minimal exhaust drone, having turned off the sport exhaust. Steering is light. I do, however, find it waving around the lines just a little bit, the steering. Noise, harshness, vibrations, insulation. Well, there is quite a bit of tire noise coming from these 20-inch tires. And you do hear some wind noise. But I would honestly say it's not any worse than my Type R. If anything, it might be better than my Type R. And one thing is definitely better than my Type R is the ride. Yeah, I think that just goes to say how stiff the Type R suspension is. This ride is coming from a Type R owner. This ride is perfectly acceptable. However, I did find last week I took my 911, my 85 911 to South Orange County Cars and Coffee. I did find, if I'm not mistaken, that car, the 85 911, is actually more comfortable than this car. I feel like there was less tire noise and the suspension was softer. However, one thing that car has that this thing doesn't is engine drum. You can very obviously hear that engine at 3000 RPM going highway speeds, given it only has 5 gears. But here cruising on the highway, visibility is pretty good. Backwards visibility, if you look over your shoulder, there is a big blind spot over you. Do need to pay attention to that. But otherwise, forward visibility, pretty nice. You do have regular cruise control, not adaptive cruise control. I did not use it ever. I don't think my friend has ever used the cruise control on his car either. Since nowadays, especially in traffic, you pretty much have to have adaptive cruise control. I'm noticing a little bit of creaking noise coming from this corner. I don't know exactly what it is. And you can also notice a little bit of creaking noise coming from the rear right over there. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Might just be the car showing its age. But overall, very well built vehicle. Now as we're pulling off the freeway, we can talk a little bit about the gauge design. classic Porsche 5-gauge design. I do really not enjoy the fact they got rid of the center tachometer for the 992.2 generation. You do have this 2013 infotainment screen. It looks old, it feels old. Pairing Bluetooth, it does have Bluetooth, but pairing Bluetooth onto this car is a big, it's very confusing process. Now coming to a stop, the PDK is not intrusive. You do notice the brake pedal carries over a little bit from 1985 in the sense that for the first 20%, for the first 10% of the pedal, there's nothing, and then after that, it is a quite sensitive brake pedal. Now pulling by Rostock Porsche Pasadena, where my friend bought this car back in 2015. Ooh. Yeah, at slow speeds going over harsh impact like that is no big deal. Pulling away, the PDK is not intrusive in any way. Every control feels well weighted. You do have, I just realized this, headlight washer button right here. Your windshield wiper control. You go up for intermediates, go down to wash it once. You have your light control here, and over here, this is I believe an optional extra where you could use remote control. Not remote control. Essentially keyless start. The key is currently here in my pocket. Now on Colorado Boulevard, downtown Pasadena. Oh yeah, as long as you have some sort of feet control, the brakes is easy to modulate. There's no blind spot monitor of any sort. With the roof up, you do have quite a bit of blind spot with the mirrors. But overall, very nice. Let's see what menu you have here. Also just realized 250 miles remaining after you used more than 3/4 of the gas. I filled it up if I headed up the canyons. It is quite a big tank, 20-gallon tank in this thing. You have your music section, phone. You could play a map here. It kind of looks out as well. Navigation, trip destination, tire pressure, sport chrono, and your G-force gauge. And use this here to control the screen. Going here, you could change. Porsche got rid of dipstick. Well, you can't even see the engine here, but you can see oil level okay here. Set different limits, etc. Nothing impressive. Again, it is 2013, but for a 2013 car, it does not feel that old. Here modulating downtown Pasadena traffic. A McLaren GT in very nice blue color as well. Don't see those very often. I do love a McLaren GT. Would love to try it out someday on a long road trip. Sitting in here, all the materials very nice. You have, of course, the hidden Porsche cup holders. You could spring this back up as well. I do have my cup here in the glove box though. Back here, center console. It's my friend's go-kart card. And hidden compartment here where I have left my glasses case. Something you did notice with this car, after you turn it off, the fan stays on for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Like 5 minutes. 10 minutes is a bit exaggeration. But just to say, the fan stays on really long. Yeah. You do notice the bumps in the road, but it's not the end of the world. Smooth, easy to drive. I do notice though, these seats are quite hard. So definitely not the most comfortable seat for a long journey. Though I do appreciate the cool seats. This car is not optioned with a backup camera, but it does have, the mirrors do go down when you put the car in reverse. I do miss a traditional good old-fashioned shifter. But, a Targa. Also a 991 GTS Targa as well. It's a .2, so I love how the Targa looks. Rear, you do have a center console. I do hate one thing about the interior of this car. Out of all the places that has plastic, over here you do have some cheap plastic, which your hand does sometimes rest over there, but that's less if you're holding the steering wheel. But they did put plastic right here in the center of the wheel. Granted, it does not feel that cheap. It's not the cheapest feeling plastic, but plastic nevertheless. And of course, all the bottoms down here is plastic. However, it is premium feeling plastic, so I excuse that. You do have back seats. The seat is moved forward. You do have some spot there. The back seat does fold down all the way. In a coupe model where you don't have the roof, you could actually fit quite a lot in the back seat area here. But in a convertible, the roof takes up the space. And yeah, you just have the back seat area there. Overall, I would say if I were to daily this vehicle, I could certainly do it. I did notice though this morning when my friend handed the car to me, I did do a cold start on it after we sat it for a long time after lunch. This car does take quite a bit to warm up. The oil temperature does take a bit to come up. Alright, going over some train tracks. Yeah, you do hear it and you do notice it, but not the end of the world. Overall, yeah, the 911 sort of does the 911 thing. A great dailyable practical sports car. It's fun on the Cayennes, although this one is quite insulating on the Cayennes. Well, I would really love to try out a 997 and see how great it is. Collecting back to my 85 911, yeah, you can still feel some shared DNA between these two cars. But obviously my 85 911 feels more raw, but it's also still comfortable enough, practical enough where you can use it every day. Overall, 911, as they say, the practical, usable daily sports car. And that perfectly concludes what a 911 is. Thank you for watching.